Welcome back to another episode of Straight Facts. We're talking De Ligt to Chelsea, confirmed as on. The power is all with Thomas Tuchel. We're delving into this big breaking news this afternoon that the new Boehly ownership are looking very ambitious and are going to pump a lot of money into Thomas Tuchel's side this summer. There's also a report that Tielemans to Arsenal could be set to complete with a £25 million bid said to be getting made. And we're going to take a look at some of the other transfer stories circulating today, but also why the William Saliba obsession from the media, why the obsession with him leaving Arsenal. We're going to talk about Osimhen. We're going to speak about Tchouameni completing his move to Real Madrid today. The Here We Go, I think, has come and gone. Mr. Ornstein breaking that. Fabrizio, of course, giving us his insights as well. We're going to take a look at the Saka rumors, and we're going to have a little bit of fun in the show today. We want you, the viewers, to tell us the one transfer you think a player should make this year. So this doesn't need to be a real rumor. This doesn't need to be something a tier one has said. A player you think should leave a particular club, or a player that your club should go and buy for love nor money. What does that need to be? We're going to delve into that later. Of course, I'm joined by Jess. We're a day early because Ben Jacobs is taking the Wednesday slot tomorrow. How are you, Jess?
Mike. I'm good. How are you? You didn't unmute my mic. You usually do.
I apologize because you do a lot. You were touching your mic. It was making noise, so I had to keep you quiet for a bit.
Yeah.
But you're good though. You're in a good mood.
Yeah. Why?
I don't know, because I'm just checking. When we start shows with you in a good mood, they tend to go better than when we start them with you in a bad mood. Because Jess in a bad mood is difficult.
Anyways, you should be nice to your guests.
No, I am nice. I'm just trying to ascertain where you are. But it's good that you are in a good mood. Lots to speak about. Arsenal on the agenda today. We're also going to touch a little bit on panicking fans. Panicking fans in the window. We're going to delve into that in a little bit more detail later. I'm looking forward to hearing your take on what transfer has to happen this summer. Mine's already on the screen. That I'm going to be going with. Mine's on the screen, the one that needs to happen this summer. So viewers, make sure you think of yours. Prime here says, to be honest, Jess only has one mood. Yeah. Yep, that's true.
It's not true. I am in good moods sometimes. I'm nice. It's so bad. I am nice.
No, Jay's good. Jay's good. Only playing. Viewers, make sure like buttons are being hit. Make sure you're subscribing to the Terrace today. But the big breaking news, we're gonna start with. Should we start with you? We'll start with Chelsea. The big breaking news this afternoon, Jay, is we know that Jules Koundé will join before the end of the month, but it's the reports are that Todd Boehly is ready to fund a move for De Ligt if Tuchel gives the green light. This has been reported by TalkSport, first of all, a number of smaller outlets, and now it's been confirmed by Matt Law that Chelsea Football Club are willing to bid and go in for De Ligt. How good a move do you think that would be for Chelsea? You know, Koundé in, De Ligt in, replacing obviously the Christiansens, the Aspies, and the Rudigers that have gone. Give me your thoughts.
I mean, it's like a good move on paper. You know, it's one of those where it's going to cost a lot, and so it's going to make a big splash, and people are going to be super excited about it because of how much he costs. But when he made that move to Juventus, you know, I thought he would probably move to a bigger club a little bit sooner, and I thought we'd hear a lot more about him. But we haven't really heard that much about him. That doesn't necessarily mean that he's a bad player. I'm not sure that, like, if you name like the top 10 defenders, center backs in the world, he wouldn't pop into my mind at all. So it's one of those where I think it looks good on paper. I personally don't think that he's as good as people make him out to seem. I think that move from Ajax to Juventus, it's kind of just quieted since then. But yeah, it's a good move, like on paper. You need a central defense, center defender. You probably want to spend some money on it to make a splash, the Boehly group want to make sure that they get their name out there. So for me, it's good on paper. It's a typical kind of Chelsea signing, but I'm not sure like he's as good as maybe his price would suggest. Like if I were Chelsea and I had to choose somebody from Serie A, I'd probably try to talk to Napoli about Koulibaly and then put him with Jules Koundé, because with Rudiger, you're losing a lot of leadership. So yeah, it's one of those where it's kind of like, is he that good? But that's just my take on it.
Look, I don't think that Chelsea fans I've looked at so far in terms of responding to, I've seen all the different journalists post the stories. I've kind of read the responses. I've shared the news, on my Twitter account, and there's a lot of excited Chelsea fans about it.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a lot that seem underwhelmed that kind of are echoing what you're saying. That almost when he left Juve, what was it, 2-3 years ago, it was expected that he would be better now than he is. So maybe it's the fact that maybe he was just overhyped. Maybe because he was such a good leader, the Ajax went so deep into the Champions League that maybe we've been disrespectful in the sense of not understanding that most young defenders don't really hit their peak until sort of mid-20s and beyond. It's a role that takes a lot.
He joined in 2019.
Okay, so it's been 3 years. 3 years. Yeah, I just sort of feel a little bit like maybe we all thought he was just a little bit better than he really was. How old is he even now? Is he 23 now? 24? He can't even be that old. I don't know how old he is. I'm going to check now. What is he? He's 22 still. He's about to turn 23.
Yeah, he's still really, really young. What's the price tag? It's like 100?
I think, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talk about it end up being a little bit less than that. But he's played 117 games for them. And it's not been the best period to really join Juventus. They kind of fell off the boil a little bit. But at the same time, I don't know what we were expecting of when he went there, he would have been 19, 20 years of age, expecting him to go to Italy, a country renowned for its great centre-backs, its great defensive setup, and expected him to just be flawless. Is there any other 22-year-old defender in the last 30 years who at 19, 20, 21, 22, we've all sit there and gone, you have to be at your best now, as I'm never going to believe in you. That's the only area I feel a bit sorry for De Ligt. I always feel like maybe it's because of how he looks. Maybe because
I think it's just the hype, it's the hype. And then you're coming from like you said, deep run for Ajax. That entire team was good, but also very highly rated. And so he goes to Serie A and he doesn't fall off. He didn't fall off. He's just, I think, just what he is, which is a good center back, but nowhere near the world-class hype that he was, being touted as. He's only 22, so he has like years ahead of him. But we're talking about the person that's going to replace Antonio Rudiger. And you're going to replace him with a 22-year-old. If you look at like top 10 center backs in the world, I don't think he gets in that list. I don't think he's close. So to spend like almost 100 million on him feels a little excessive.
Ali here says, Terry, they said he was the next VVD, and that was premature. But at 22, he's better than VVD was at that age. My point is, if you actually look at him now as a 22-year-old defender, he's very good. But it was the fact that at 18, 19, we were talking about him, and I think we all fell into the guilty trap of acting like he was the finished article. Sometimes you get certain attacking players, Mbappe's and Rooney's, who at 17, 18, 19 are almost like the complete package. But that's attacking players, and they're rare. Defenders, holding midfield players, you typically don't see the best of them until 24, 25, 26 and beyond that. So there's still, and that's the hope for Chelsea. And that's still why he's going to command a big transfer fee. But
I mean, do you spend that money on hope?
Well, you spend money on potential, don't you? But potential is always going to.
22, it could go either way.
It could do, of course it could, but I think that's the same with any big signing, isn't it? I think that it could, all signings could go either way.
Yeah.
They could. It's when Van Dijk signed for Liverpool, there was a lot of people that ridiculed it, saying, "Is he really worth 75 mil?" And he's turned out to be absolutely brilliant. And there are other players that I've seen get signed for that money. I didn't think, we had Jadon Sancho at Man United. I didn't qualm at the price at all because I know how good he is. And then year one just hasn't really done it. People have got to remember the first two, every summer they did this in the national newspapers here in England. They used to do Fergie's flops and Fergie's great buys. That it'd just be almost like it was seasonal. It would always come out. 2 summers running in the 04 and 05 summers, 12.5 million was considered a lot of money still in those days. Cristiano Ronaldo was labelled as a flop purchased by Manchester United manager. He was called a one-trick pony, hadn't progressed, wasn't fit for the Premier League. A couple of years after that, the guy was winning a Ballon d'Or here in the Premier League. So you always pay more for potential, and I think De Ligt's got it in him. I would just like to see a little bit more of him as an example. And look, if Tuchel wants him, then Tuchel should go out there and get it done. And they're looking. The thing with Chelsea is, though, they're looking like they're going to spend big. And this was always the kind of, a lot of us as rivals were kind of hoping when Roman was gone, that's it, end of the Roman era, end of the money era. But so far, the noise coming out doesn't really sound like that's the direction that they're going to go in. It sounds like it's very much going to be, we are still going to spend big. We still want to be a powerhouse. We still want to compete on all fronts.
Yeah. I mean, I think the initial hope was like they need to get somebody who's tight with the money. And, Boehly is definitely not that. He's very competitive. Now, the next step is, what does the structure look like beyond Abramovich? Who's in charge? What do the signings look like post that era? So we'll see. Like, I do still think that Chelsea will be good and they'll get good players. I mean, me saying that I don't rate De Ligt that much doesn't mean that he wouldn't be a good signing. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. But, the likes of Jules Koundé, De Ligt, those are good signings, and they're expensive signings. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But I think also the key is to get Thomas Tuchel the players he wants, and if they're going to give him, the keys to the car, I think that could be beneficial to them, so looks good so far for Chelsea.
It does. And when you look at his kind of record, he hasn't played all the games over in Italy, 29 league games first season, 27 the next year, 31 games this season, still kind of, 251 games at 22 years of age. That's league, Europe, national cups. What's great about that is you look at him and Koundé, and yes, they're looking at buying 2 very young centre-backs, but they're young and experienced. And I think making this move will be a lot easier for them. But the Tuchel effect you mentioned, giving him players he wants is key, because he had a decent season last year, all being told, all things being honest. And the fact that you look back with hindsight, and we've had managers at both our clubs, Arsenal and Man United respectively, where we have defended them until we've seen them build their own squads. As in our collectively, our fan bases have. Some haven't, some have, some more so than others. But as a general rule, we've been like, well, let's let him build his team first. With Thomas Tuchel, like, he went through so much criticism last year, and he made mistakes, and he did some things wrong, like all managers. But he hasn't been able to build his Chelsea yet, and yet he's been to every final, barring last season's Champions League. He's won 3 or 4 trophies, like Super Cups and World Cup Championships and everything else, and narrowly missed out to one of the best Liverpool teams of a generation on penalties in 2 finals. It should be just a sobering thought for rivals that if they give this guy what he wants and he's able to build a team in his own image, they're already a brilliant side. They have the capabilities of closing that gap. There's no doubt. Because I think Tuchel is a top-class manager. If Chelsea are still spending that, and that was everybody's hope, wasn't it? The first thing we went to when Roman was going is, well, they won't spend money anymore, therefore I'm not scared. And if Chelsea are still spending money, they could definitely be dangerous. But viewers, what do you think about this deal. I want to know what you're thinking and what you're feeling. 100 million for Lukaku as well. Yeah, but I don't think Lukaku is his signing, if I'm being absolutely honest. Immortal Technique here says, big up to Jess, Terry, and the chat. Thank you, my friend. Really appreciate that. The Sensible Soccer Lounge, I don't know why I said the word Scouse, says, Jess is a realist, top show. Can't blame her for her high... I don't know what that word says. Oh, estrogen level. She's a woman. In terms of the grumpiness, well, yeah, it is what it is. It's nature, isn't it, I suppose? It's just nature. Terry, any updates on De Jong? No, there's no real updates on anything Man United related. We did a bit of a roundup earlier on today on the terrace. Nothing's changed. What I've seen a lot of today are journalists rewording the same news. You know, Man United are fairly close to getting to an agreement with Barcelona. He's open to the idea of joining Man United. But is he going to make a decision imminently? Probably not, because he's going to wait and see who else comes in for him should Barca agree to 100% sell him. Nothing much has changed with De Jong. He hasn't rejected Man United. If a big Champions League team comes in for him, if Barca decide to 100% sell, could be very hard for Man United to get him, but they're certainly in with a chance. But yeah, there's a lot of what I call just regurgitated news on De Jong today. I'm seeing it, which is why I haven't mentioned it anywhere, because unless it's new, I'm not going to talk about it so much. But yeah, if you guys ask me questions, of course, I will. Viewers, make sure that like button is being smashed and you're getting in your comments below. Arsenal. We are going to talk Youri Tielemans. There's kind of like there's not a lot of Arsenal news at the moment, as in imminent arrivals or anything like this. But Gabriel Jesus wants Real Madrid. Chelsea are in for Gabriel Jesus. Spurs are in for Gabriel Jesus. You got the Saka news. Like Arsenal's name is being used in so many deals at the moment. First of all, Gabriel Jesus, are you fearful that a Chelsea or a Real Madrid coming in for him will turn his head away from Arsenal?
No, I still feel the same that I did like a couple of days ago. I feel pretty confident in this particular deal. I think this happens right as soon as you're about to sign a player, is everybody and their mom all of a sudden is super interested. And, you know, the thing is like, there's no smoke without fire. So I'm not sitting here saying that I don't think, you know, that other teams are interested in him. But I also remember that just a week ago, things were really close and things have gone quiet now. And a lot of times when things go quiet, especially for Arsenal, it's because we're at the tail end of doing a deal. So for me, I always remember what his agent said. You know, what he wanted was to be the man at his next club, to ensure a certain amount of playing time so that he makes the Brazil World Cup squad. He wants to be paid good. He wants to stay in England. And so, of course, seeing like names like Chelsea and Real Madrid, you start to like, oh, wow, really? But neither of those clubs are going to offer him everything that he wants. And so, yeah, I think we're good. We'll see what happens when the window opens, whether or not bids actually go in. Interest is one thing, bids are different. So yeah, I actually still feel really good about the Gabriel Jesus thing. The Scamacca news, like, again, it's another Italian club that are, I think, just Arsenal have some interest, and they kind of use that to try to get the Italian clubs to, you know, put in a bid or something. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty calm, you know, unless actual bids start coming in and we start hearing like the English press saying Arsenal are losing out to so-and-so and so-and-so, then, you know, until then, I feel pretty good.
Yeah, look, I spoke about it briefly this morning and I stand by it. I don't think the Chelsea links right now there's anything concrete in them. Real Madrid also, I think people have to look at the player and his want to kind of move on. It's always been said Champions League football wasn't essential for Gabriel Jesus. That's not been part of the conversation whatsoever. So nothing much really has changed in that regard. The only thing there's not been a new update on this now for about 10 days. It was the price. It was just the price between Arsenal and City. Arsenal looking at 35 to 40, City wanting nearer the 50 million mark. That's all I really think any of this is. I think it could be a little bit of the agent, even more so than City, because City don't. City are in that position where if he doesn't sell and he's still at City next year, they're not going to cry about it. You know, we've seen players like Bernardo Silva look like he's going to leave and then stay and have great seasons. So City aren't going to cry. They're not going to grumble. But I think it's very much about the agent trying to maybe hurry this along a little bit, because what most players want is to be able to go away, have their holiday, come back to pre-season at their new club and kind of know where they're going to be.
His agent said they want it done quickly, like within like the first week, like they want it like pretty much done. So for me, it looks like negotiations and agent talk, you know, trying to push it forward. I think the fee, like they said, would be like 50 million euros, which is, I can't do the, you know, conversion, but what is that, like 45 million pounds?
45, yes.
Yeah. So there might be like 5 million, you know, pounds difference right now. So unless
42 million, it's around 42 mil. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, we'll just see what happens, but I still feel good about it. I know it's like when things are quiet on our end and it's loud everywhere else, it looks like everything is falling apart, but it doesn't feel like that to me. So we'll see.
No, I agree. And the other deal, which is interesting, there's a report that came out today that Arteta is pushing for Arsenal to make an opening £25 million bid for Youri Tielemans. That was kind of coupled with the news that came out in the Daily Mail today that Tielemans' preference to join a club involved in next season's Champions League was always the case. But at this stage, none have come forward and shown as much serious interest as Arsenal. Therefore, Arsenal are still very confident of completing this deal. And that very much echoes what the likes of Ben Jacobs has said and Dean Jones that have been on the terrace in the last few weeks, that it's a deal that Arsenal want to get done because you don't want to leave it too long in case a player Liverpool are looking at falls through and they go, actually, look, Youri's still available. Let's go and see, because that can become a harder thing to compete with. But £25 million bid, Youri Tielemans in. I mean, I know you're not his biggest fan, but it's still
a good deal for that. For that amount.
Very good.
Yeah. When you look at like the likes of, you know, Tchouameni are going to Real Madrid for 100 million, you know, package deal, 25 million for Premier League proven player that a year ago, a lot of teams would be like desperate to get him. I think it's a good deal. Obviously, players that are not world-class usually have flaws, you know, and you have to figure out whether or not you're willing to deal with those flaws. And I do think Youri Tielemans might want to put down the McDonald's, you know, get in the gym, you know, firm up, because he's a little bit on the fluffy side, I would say.
Fluffy.
But yeah, other than that, like, he's a very good technical player. And any Arsenal fan that thinks that he's going to sit on the bench behind Granit Xhaka needs to get their head checked. He walks straight into our team.
Sorry, let me interject. Arsenal fans think Granit Xhaka is better than Youri Tielemans.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know what this thing is about Granit Xhaka and like trying to repaint like history or rewrite history around him, but like he's a good player, but highly limited. Tielemans had a bad season, but the season prior, he helped Leicester win the FA Cup. He was big for that. And they almost made Champions League, and he was one of the biggest pieces of that, like with Vardy and Maddison. So, you know, Leicester have had a better midfield than us for years, you know, with Ndidi and Tielemans and Maddison. And all of a sudden, because Granit Xhaka looks decent standing next to Thomas Partey, things have changed. Nothing has changed. We still need to upgrade upon him. He walks straight into our midfield and starts. And the idea that he wouldn't is just like, what are you smoking? Like, you know what I mean? So I like the player. I like the deal. I like that you know, it's not going to cost that much. I like that he's like 25. So he still has some years ahead of him where he could still get better. And if he pretty much stays the same, he's still an upgrade. So yeah, I like this one. And I like, you know, because he's pretty much our number one target. And I think with that, you have to show players that you really want them just in case other teams are interested. And I think what Arsenal have done with Tielemans and Gabriel Jesus just showed them, like, we know we don't have Champions League, but we want you more than the other clubs, which I think is important.
No, I agree. And I think that, you know, it's wound some Arsenal fans up when journalists have said, well, he's always stated he wants Champions League football. So maybe Arsenal have got to do a bit of rework, a bit of re-convincing, which I don't think was...
Pay some more? Give him some more money?
Well, the journalist never said that. It was more just reaffirm that, yes, we haven't got Champions League, but we are still the best place for you to be, which is kind of normal. When Youri Tielemans had said publicly, the next team I go to, I want it to be in the Champions League. But sometimes things just fall your way because a lot of the Champions League teams that maybe would come in for him maybe don't need a Youri Tielemans right now. So it opens up that door and that opportunity. I just think the one thing Arsenal have to do, and it sounds like they are when we look at the reports today, is act quickly and get him in, because there's still question marks over him, whether he's of that Arsenal and above level, that's sort of the elite end of the spectrum.
Now, what do you think?
I like Youri Tielemans. I don't think he's a bad... I like him. I think he's better than every midfield player that you've got, barring Thomas Partey, but they don't play the same role. He improves your team. I can't wrap my head around Gunners that are still consistently backing Granit Xhaka, who is at least 4 or 5 games a year with red cards or fouls or petulance. He'll cost you games and points. That in itself is not what elite level footballers do. He costs you more games than he individually wins you, which is a problem for someone that some look at as a talisman. Technically on the ball, Youri Tielemans, in my opinion, is levels above him. There's no doubt. And I think you need to... This was a player that you almost sold for a pittance last year, and it was only because the team that were trying to buy him tried to drive the price even lower that he stayed. The new deal, I thought at the time, was strange. And yes, there were some improvements last year from Arsenal. I'm not going to deny that. But I don't know, some Arsenal fans, I just feel like maybe, I don't know, I'm going to blame their dads and their mums, to be honest. I don't think they've been taught how to support football clubs properly. And the standards are high. It's almost they feel like, I'm going to, even if we have a player that isn't very good, I'm going to stand by him regardless. It doesn't matter what midfielder we're linked to. No one's going to get in front of Xhaka. It's sort of like, it's cute. It's cute, but it's how a 10-year-old would support a football team. It's not how a grown-up would support a football team. Granit Xhaka's a good player, but to sit there and act like, Youri doesn't get in the team over him, it's a disastrous opinion. It really is. It's a disaster. It's an abomination. It's awful. And I think Youri improves your midfield at £25 million as well. It leaves you with a lot more money. If you think about him and Gabriel Jesus in collectively for sort of 65, 70 million, that's good business, because they're the the age profile you need, because too many of your better players are babies in the footballing sense. You need players nearing those mid-20s, because Tielemans and Gabriel Jesus will be your leaders next year. They will be part of your leadership team instantly, because they're just older. They've been there. They've worn the T-shirt. Yes, Youri Tielemans, he's had European campaigns with Leicester. He's won the FA Cup with Leicester. Of course, he's part of the Belgium national team. He's played at major tournaments. He has like as much experience as anybody else in your team. He's won as much as any individual player has in your team. Yeah, for me, I think it's a very good signing. I think it's a very good signing, and anyone that thinks Xhaka's better than him, honestly, you need to take a long, hard look in the mirror, because that's an atrocious opinion, in my view.
Yeah, for sure. Like, of course, I have my question marks around Youri Tielemans, like in his fitness and stuff like that. But beyond that, he's so technical, and he had a bad year with Leicester. Leicester was terrible, so you have to take that into consideration. But I think he can go up a level. I definitely think he's a Champions League level player. You just have to put him in the right system. Granit's cool, but we need to improve upon him. Two things can be true at the same time, that Granit Xhaka is a good player, but you still need to improve upon him. I think that's kind of where we are. The other player I want to see come in as well, like just a sidebar, is if we could convince Zinchenko to come, I'd bite your hand off for that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of Arsenal fans rave about him, especially during the international break when they've been watching him. I've also read as a midfielder. Now, this is my ignorance, and we all learn things. I never really think about him as a midfielder, because I've only ever seen him play as a fullback, really. Mm-hmm. So that's what it shows. He's got that versatility. But obviously, I mean, and again, another Premier League proven, talented football player that could help. That's going to help to improve you. There's just no doubt about that in my mind. I think he really will. Brandon here says Xhaka over Tielemans. This fan base. But this is what it comes down to. That back to that comment that you already mentioned there, and I can't find it again now, saying Terry doesn't know how good Xhaka is. Xhaka is a good player. But Arsenal have got to, let me just answer, sorry. Arsenal have got to move beyond good players. You need to start moving towards your very good, to your exceptional, to your world-class. You are big Arsenal that need to get back to winning Premier League. Like, even if you're a Gooner that loved last year and thought it was a big improvement, that's stage 1 of 5. You've got to get back to winning the Premier League. That's until Arsenal winning the Premier League, you're failing. Like, I know it sounds harsh, but it's truth.
Well, the one thing that I will say is that if you have to continuously try to convince somebody or people that a player is good, he's probably not that good. Good players, you don't have to convince. It's not a conversation, doesn't get debated as much. You can debate them across other good players, but if you have to show, graphs and numbers and underlying metrics and try to make it seem like everybody's stupid and you're the only person that can understand how he's a good player, he's probably not as good as you think. So again, he's a good player. And yes, like he's like maybe a little bit more physical than Tielemans. But I saw numbers the other day of defensive contributions or like midfielders retaining the ball in midfield. And not last season, but the season prior, Youri Tielemans was second in that list. He was above Declan Rice in that list. And Xhaka was nowhere to be found. So, like, Xhaka's not this, like, defensive freaking dynamo. He's a good player. We just need to improve.
What you'll find, there's 2 things in that. I've said it before about these, what is it they call themselves? Tacticos or something, right? These data analysts that now watch football. They lack emotional intelligence as human beings, I'm sure of it, because they always factor out the human element of the game. But secondly, most of those gooners that will put those metrics up that will say this is why Xhaka is better than Youri Tielemans based on all these data points would probably also say that Arsenal have a better team than Leicester overall. Therefore, Xhaka's obviously going to be elevated because he's surrounded by better players. None of it ever makes any sense in real life. And that's why football has never been about data points. You can't make predictions based on data. You part of it is based on data. The rest of it has to be based on your experience in the game, the mental element, and the fact that we have seen so many players, and Jota is a prime example of one, that have gone from a middle-of-the-road team, a mid-table team or a high mid-table team to a top team and looked an outstanding player. Virgil van Dijk, it wasn't even after a year he turned into the player he is now. Van Dijk, when he joined Liverpool, snap, you saw his overall quality come out because he was surrounded by better players than he was with at Southampton. And of course, he's maintained. He didn't get better a year in. He was instantly amazing and has just not looked back since. And I'm not suggesting that Youri Tielemans is going to become the best midfielder in the world when he goes to Arsenal, but I'm using these individuals as cases and points where you suddenly get surrounded by better players. And I do think that Arsenal have overall better players than Leicester. I really do. Across most positions, they do. And he'll be a better player for it. Plus, you're not just buying Youri Tielemans this year. You're looking at multiple football players that are going to improve it. Zinchenko, you've mentioned. Gabriel Jesus, you've mentioned already. You put those two and another one, plus Youri Tielemans, into a team that has a year older Martinelli, a year older Saka, a year more experienced Odegaard. William Saliba coming back, he'll be elevated by that. And that's the element of those data points that doesn't make sense because you're judging Youri Tielemans in a different team and you're not taking into account all the changes that are going to come into play. Honestly, it's nonsensical. It really is. Someone here says, Terry, who are these Arsenal fans that don't rate Xhaka? They must just be doing it for content. Rate Xhaka more than Youri Tielemans. Mate, half these people ain't content creators. They're foul content creators that nobody ever watches. That's the maddest bit about it. That's why generally they get angry at like successful content creators. Because why does no one want to listen to me? Because you're boring and you chat shit, bro. Like that's generally the reason why. But there we go. On William, I wanted to ask you about William Saliba. Blake, don't go too far, Blake.
That's I like that, Blake.
A little too far. Good there, comment. Blake. It's a little too far there, Blake. Make sure like buttons are being smashed, people. I wanted to ask you this question here, right? Why is there such an obsession with William Saliba? But another link with a move away today. Napoli have made an inquiry. The British newspapers have then said, "Oh, maybe this can help Arsenal sign Osimhen." Why is there this continual obsession with Saliba leaving Arsenal?
I don't know. It's just been a really messy situation from minute one. And it's like a saga that people get high off of, like it's like a drug or something. And I don't know. Like, I just think there's an idea that William Saliba has been treated poorly and Arsenal don't deserve him because he's the best and brightest thing coming out of, France in terms of defense, and so, it's one of those, and it's been a saga for like 3 years. So we're tired. But yeah, I think there's also like the elephant in the room of his contract. Traditionally, when a player gets down to the last 2 years of their contract, you have to make a decision. And so, William Saliba said he's going to come back. Arteta says he needs to come back, and we have plans for him. But I think a lot of this will be also dependent on his contract. I think that if you offer him, because here's the thing, is Saliba is younger than Konate, and Konate is excellent, but he's getting in the French squad over Konate. That's how much they rate him. And so there's a World Cup around the corner. You never know what's going to happen. And so he might have a really good opportunity to go to the World Cup as a 20-year-old with France. So he's going to want guaranteed playing time. He's probably going to want a pay bump. And you're not going to be able to convince William Saliba that this is the place where you should be if you're going to say, okay, well, we'll give you the Europa League. I don't think that'll be enough. It needs to be a pay bump. It needs to be, you're going to be, fighting for Premier League minutes. Konate is not getting in this team. You see what I'm saying? Like, he needs playing time. So it's going to be a difficult one. Like, I think it's a good sign and a good first step for everybody to say that he's going to come back for preseason, but it's really dependent on this contract. And he can also, decide not to take it and leave for free or leave in a year, so you never know. But, I think in terms of the media wanting to talk about it a lot, I think some of it is his agent trying to make sure that we give him the deal that he deserves. Because that's important for them to get him secured on more money and stuff like that. I think he deserves it based on what he's done. But also it's just, people like to talk about Arsenal as well in the media. Like, it's a really good way to get clicks too. Like,
Well, it is. And look, I saw Arsenal fans. I thought you tweet this, I think. It was Saliba Sunday or something. Like, you lot were going,
I love Saliba. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like,
you've seen him play.
You've
never seen him play.
I do actually watch him play.
Not for Arsenal.
I do actually, but see, that's the thing. It's like,
and not for Arsenal, because he ain't kicked the ball.
No, he hasn't. He played a preseason game against Liverpool.
Go on, son.
So he did pull on the kid one time. But I do watch him play in France, and that's how I know that, like, I do think there's some validity to what Arteta said about him not being ready. There is some of that, so there's a lot of Arsenal fans that feel like he just hates him. You only arrive in the Premier League one time. He makes a big mistake, against somebody in the Premier League, and he's finished. So, I think there's some of that. But Saliba, I really think he's a very good player. We've had these conversations before. You said if he's been loaned out 3 times, he must not be that good. He is actually a very, very good player, and he knows that. So whether or not Arsenal can convince him that this is the place to be, very close to a World Cup where he's getting in the team above really, really good center backs, that's yet to be seen.
Yeah, let me clarify what you just said there about if he's been loaned out 2 or 3 times, he isn't that good.
You did say that.
What I say in those cases is I don't know if the player's going to make it at the club loaning him out, because there are not very many examples of players being loaned out twice or more where they end up making it back at that club. Harry Kane's like a standout example, and people will be able to name me a number of people that have done it. And I'm talking about reach their full potential. So I've had that skeptical mark, but William Saliba agrees with me. William Saliba agrees with Terry Flewers on this. 110%. And he said it in his statement. And what I loved about this, I mean, I legitimately enjoyed how Gooners went at Get French Football Now. The way they went at that account, like, screw you, you're in the mud. I'm like, it's literally a bloke tweeting news. Like, leave him alone, right? But it's like they ignored the final line they ignored the final line of the statement from William Saliba, which I still think is where all of this obsession from all parties comes from. And I want to read the line out again. I've done it on a few shows this week, but I want to make sure that this doesn't get forgotten about. Where's it at? I'm trying to find it now because it was so central. Here we go. So the final line, I think, stands out more than any other. He did the whole "I belong here, I belong to them, I want a chance, play for their fans, big club." But then he says, "But it doesn't just depend on me. In any case, to leave like this would be a shame." I still think there's an element of William Saliba that doesn't 100% trust whether Mikel Arteta wants him or not. But this is why this becomes such a massive point with Gooners, because you've got the Gooner ins versus, the Arteta ins versus the Arteta outs. And the Arteta inners, they always do their best. And you know this. They always do everything in their power to make Arteta's decision-making look brilliant. But if William Saliba is as good as everybody says he is, and Arteta's not giving him a chance, Arteta inners, remember, they're all polarized. You've said this. I'll use your phrase. Football fans think too binary. What an Arteta inner doesn't want to turn around and do is go, I love Arteta, but he's so wrong on this occasion. They never like to admit he does anything wrong. The same as the Arteta out guys, no matter what he does, he's wrong in everything. And that's where this war stems around. It's all to do with Arteta. I think Saliba's like a byproduct of this situation. It's almost, we have to protect Arteta at all costs. So whatever happens, the people, he's loaned him for these reasons and that reasons. He's going to come back into the team and be a star. Saliba doesn't know if he's going to play yet or not. If he did, if Arteta had phoned him and said, you are 100% in the team next year, he'd have said that in the interview, wouldn't he? But he said, it isn't just up to me. He isn't digging Arteta out. So I'm just intrigued to see how this one goes. Brandon here says they're obsessed with Saliba leaving. It is because they can't grasp that a player who has been let down by the club wants to come back and prove his worth. That's also a great point. If you believe he's been let down by the club.
I feel like that also has to do with whether or not you think Arteta made a mistake by loaning him out. Again, things are just so binary. Loaning him out wasn't a big deal. And this is how I know a lot of Arsenal fans don't actually watch Saliba. They just look at the compilations and, Saliba is basically a stick to beat Arteta with. If you watch him, you would realize, like, the guy, he's like 18 when we bought him. Like, he's very, very raw. And so, and he was, the first time he was loaned out, it wasn't by Arteta. It was by Raul, so I don't think it was anything wrong with loaning him out. I think the thing that Saliba always pulls on is putting him in the under 23s. That's actually where I thought Arteta lost the trust from Saliba, is he's too good to be playing under 23s. And I get that you didn't put him in the squad, so you had to figure out something to do with him. But throwing him in the under 23s was not, it felt counterproductive and pointed to do that. So again, loaning him out was not the issue. Throwing him into under 23s may have been. But equally, he doesn't know, and he needs to be convinced that he'll play and stuff like that. Arteta says one thing, he says something else. So we just have to see. I think this is a wait and see kind of thing, but he'll be there for preseason. And it's in Arteta's and Arsenal's best interest to make sure that they keep him, because you're going to be playing in 4 competitions and there's no reason to go out into the market and spend 20-something million on another center back when you have one of the best ones coming out of France in your squad.
No doubt about it. And as I said before, like, if he comes back and he kills it, then he becomes one of those rocking horse shit type players. Rarities to be loaned out 2-3 times and then comes back to make it. And listen, I'm gonna remain skeptical, because generally speaking, it doesn't go that way very often. And I don't know if we could find more than 5 Premier League players who have become who have fulfilled their potential at their sort of origination club in the Premier League, who have been loaned out more than 2 times. Harry Kane's the only one I can really think of. Viewers, I'd love to know who else has done that. So they've either been bought by a big club or come through the academy of a big club, been loaned out twice or more, and still achieve their full potential at that club. I'd love to know.
Also, I'd
like to know. I'd like to know.
Also, like, on both sides, we don't actually know what's happened. We're going a lot into a lot of projection and based on our own narratives, and we're just making things up. We actually don't know very much about the situation or the relationship between Arteta and Saliba. So we do this a lot in our fan base. I don't know if other fan bases do that, but there's a lot of I'm assuming that this is happening. I'm assuming this is the relationship, and then you end up with egg on your face later when that's not actually the truth. So this is a wait to be seen. There's a lot of Arteta hates Saliba, and Saliba hates Arteta, and he doesn't ever want to come back. And I would just say, like, just put a question mark by it and just let it go, because, like, we don't know. He could leave on a free in 2 years. He can leave next season, you know, after he's played some in the Premier League. He can leave this summer, or he can stay. All of those things could happen. You know, we do a lot of, like, absoluting and assuming, and sometimes it's just like we have no idea what their relationship is like. You know, it's the media's job to sensationalize every single thing that happens, and they don't really know anything either. They didn't even, like, the funny thing about Get French Football now is that they did, like, an interview talking to, I think it was Robbie, about Gabriel, and that guy knew absolutely nothing about Gabriel. He didn't know anything about him, how long he had been in the French league, and what foot he used or anything. So I would take everything with a grain of salt, really.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know that indeed. So
he was up there just saying whatever, and they were like, well, somebody asked, what is he, right-footed or left-footed? And the guy was like, he's right-footed. And if you know, like, come on, everybody knows Gabriel's left-footed. It's weird, you know, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a strange one to me. But there we go. I mean, it's, well, I didn't. I don't. Do you know what it is for me? It's that's not really what I focus on in the game. But it depends what you're trying to be. Does that make sense?
Well, like, if you're known for knowing everything about French football, and you're talking about Arsenal and players that are coming from your league to Arsenal, you think that the bare minimum you would know Gabriel. you know,
I think for me, yeah. I mean, when I say I don't know, it's like I don't ever think about what foot. I don't ever really think about what foot people use. But if you're someone that claims to be an expert, the one thing you'll never see from me is I'm claiming to be a football expert. I am a football fan. That's what I say.
Didn't
so
you say you're like a football finance expert, though? Isn't that like your little tag?
But that was my job. I wasn't. That was my job.
Are you actually an expert?
15 years experience. Youngest person in the previous bank history to hold the role that I had ever in a 300+ year history of that bank. So yeah, I was an expert.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I weren't. Do you know what I mean? But there we go. Thanks for that. Appreciate it a lot. But I want to ask as well. Like, we're gonna get onto our dream transfers a little later. Viewers, make sure you're hitting that like and that share button for us today. Answer neither foot. Terry, Nunes to United or Liverpool? Hello, Liverpool. Spoke about this earlier on today.
Mm-hmm.
In the real update, all that's happening now are people are fluffing out the Liverpool connection. I've been talking about Liverpool, been looking at this player for a while. I think we spoke about it on a stream over a week ago. Liverpool haven't made the level of contact with the player or Benfica that Man United have, but it's slowing the deal down. So Man United are very close to getting a full agreement. So they're very close to coming to a financial agreement with Benfica. The player's very interested in Manchester United. He's had the contract offers essentially via the intermediaries. It's all ready to go. But Liverpool are there in the background. So Liverpool are going to slow down the overall process because he's going to wait and see what they offer. Now, if in 2 or 3 weeks' time, Liverpool still haven't done anything concrete, he may go, right, I'm going to Man United because they actually want me right now. But if Liverpool come in full pelt for Núñez and they go head to head with Man United, I can't see Man United getting him. I
don't think Liverpool will, because in order to do that, you'd have to pay that money.
Well, this is it, isn't it? And I think what Liverpool are doing is they're waiting to see what Benfica and Man United agree. I think if Man United drive down Benfica's price to an acceptable,
they'll do you guys like they did Spurs.
Yeah. That's what I think. I think that's where they'll sleep in. And this is where football fans have got to learn to listen to the journalists and the transfer experts more than just the bullet point headlines. So when someone says, "Oh, United are close to doing a deal," that isn't the same as they're close to the transfer process. As in Darwin leaving Benfica is minutes away, hours away, days away from happening, because sometimes the players will say, "I'm very happy with that deal. Benfica are happy, but I don't want to trigger nothing yet. I want to sit and wait and see if anyone else comes out the woodwork." And why would you not? Why, if you're Darwin Núñez, why, if you're, Tchouameni, Tchouameni could have committed to clubs that rim for him earlier than Real Madrid. Real Madrid only popped up for Tchouameni when they didn't get Mbappe. If he'd have made a
thank God.
if he'd have made a mid-season commitment to a PSG, a Liverpool, or a Chelsea, and then Mbappe felt, oh my God, I could have gone there. Sometimes it's better to wait, have your offers there ready to go, but just wait and see what else kind of comes up. And Arsenal might find this happening with a Tielemans or Gabriel Jesus. They might go, I love this offer, Arteta. Thank you. Just going to think about it for a little bit, especially if they get this. Happened with Ozil. Ozil was literally done your medical, and before signing his paperwork, it was almost, I've heard rumors that some other clubs might come in. Can we just wait before we sign to say who they are and what they're offering? And that isn't a dig at Arsenal. That's just professionals being professionals. You kind of wait and see. I've done it with jobs. I'm sure you've done it with jobs where you've got 2 or 3 offers from different companies at the same time, and you weigh out what one's best for you. Well, I don't know why we look at football. I think because we look at football through the eyes of how much we love our clubs. So we often don't understand how other people look at football as purely a business as opposed to anything else. But yeah, look, I think Liverpool have got a great chance if they fully go in for him and they go from inquiry.
The Liverpool fans, do you guys like Darwin Núñez?
Yeah,
he's different than the players that you guys already have in the central positions. Have you watched him play? Like, I want to know if Liverpool fans actually rate Núñez, because do they need that player? Like, I just want to know. I just want to know what they think. Because,
yeah, I mean,
he's different than what they've been doing for a minute.
There's quite a few. There's quite a few that have said that. There's quite a few that have basically stated that he is not very good, not very talented. They're all talking about his pass completion. Again, it took me 5 minutes of research to look at his overall pass completion in his career, and it's in and around the same as Karim Benzema. He just had a bad year for pass completion this year. I haven't watched enough Benfica games to work out why that is, but I've watched some compilations like we all do of players, and there's some great touches and passes and reverse balls and movement and some great skill to beat players. I think he clocked up the fastest speed in the Champions League this year, or the second fastest speed. So he obviously ain't a slouch. He isn't the fastest.
He's rapid. Like, he's very fast.
He isn't the fastest for me over the first 5 yards. He's more of a, once he gets into his stride, he's got some speed.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I don't know. I think
I just want to know what they think. Like,
yeah, like last night,
because he's so different than what they've been doing.
Yeah, very, very, very different indeed. So it's it's going to be an intriguing one to see what. It's going to be an intriguing one.
I still think he goes to Man United, by the way.
He could do. He could go to Man United. I'd be intrigued. I'd want to see him. But this kind of leads into a good talking point, actually. I don't know. Are you seeing this on your timelines, on your streams, in group chat? Are you starting to see football fans panicking at this point? I mean, there's been no deals yet. Tchouameni's done.
Perisic is done. Like the phrase.
I'm just starting to see some gooners. I'm seeing a lot of United fans really panicking. I don't understand it.
I mean, Arsenal fans are the same in every transfer window. Before it even opens, they start to feel like it should be done before the window even opens. The window doesn't open for like another 3 days. And I think ultimately it depends on where you finished. You know, a lot of people played down, I think, their disappointment around not finishing in the top 4. And so that's kind of seeping and blending its way into the transfer window. And so there's a lot of pressure on that. Man United fans probably feel something different because you're getting a new manager, but same, you know, not really knowing the direction and not really feeling like 100% on things and the targets and stuff. So yeah, like I do sense like a little bit of like what's going on, but you know what's going on. That's why like sometimes I look at Arsenal fans, I'm like, but you know what's happening. The window's not open. We know what our number 1 targets are. We know who they are. We don't know what the other 2 signings potentially will be, but we know probably a forward and a left back. But we want to get the first 2 done. So until those get done, probably not going to see much more movement. But equally, the window's not open. Like, you know, so, but I think it's all blend. It all goes back to, you know, if we had finished in the top 4, the vibe would have been different. It would have been excitement. And what could we get? You know, who are we going to get? Dreamland. Now that we didn't finish in the top 4, it's, well, I don't know if this is going to be enough. I don't know if this is going to be a thing. Oh my gosh, we're going to lose out to so-and-so. Like, that's what it is. So yeah, like, but this is every window.
When it comes down to this, at some point, your club's just got to be willing to pay the money. And you pay the right kind of money, you remunerate in the right way. And if the irony in it is this, and I'll talk about Gooners here specifically on this what I hear from them, paying people too much can ruin if the culture's fixed, it doesn't matter what you pay someone, they're going to work hard. The reason that some of your highly paid players before weren't performing is because the culture was wrong at the football club. And this is where I challenge certain fans of certain clubs. If the way you're being run, the way your owners are now operating, the manager's got the culture right, there's no reason to not spend money then, is there? It doesn't make sense. And again, if you're buying players that are going to improve your team, the existing players are not going to moan about the difference in wages that they're on. If you're buying players that are not good enough or don't fit your system and you're quote unquote doing a bad job in the market, yes, you'll cause disharmony. Because why is Joe Bloggs, who's shit, being paid double what I'm on? But you bring in a midfielder on 150 grand a week, but he comes in and transforms your team. No one complains about how much they're earning. They never have done in the history of football. And it almost strikes me as people lie about how happy they are with the way their clubs run. I think they feel on social media that it makes them look better to always be positive about their football club. The problem is that those opinions bite you in the backside. Lee Gunner's a great example. He said all along that we're big Arsenal. We can sign these players we're linked with without Champions League football. He said that I'm not agreeing with everything he said, but one of his arguments was we need Champions League football to sign Tielemans and Gabriel Jesus. He's like, I think we can get them without it. It turns out he's right, but people don't want to believe that one little bit, because if you agree with one thing Lee says, you agree with everything that Lee says. And I don't think, again, football isn't that binary. There are bits and pieces that everybody comes out with, but Man United fans are the same. There's, oh my God, Spurs might beat us to Ericsson. We're washed. It's like, well, yeah, to a degree we are a little bit. I don't know what you're shocked about. Because it's 9 years of failure, 9 years without challenging for a single major title, one FA Cup, one League Cup, one Europa League. We're failures. We're a decade into a failure. Of course, if you've got a team like Liverpool that comes in for Darwin Núñez, players are going to think twice about Man United. It's not even the embarrassment for me is more the fans and the club not realizing the way we run have created this. I'm not embarrassed by the fact that De Jong isn't sure about joining us. That, for me, it's actually music to my ears, because it should now be weaponized to push back against the Glazers to say run our club better for a prolonged period of time. Because if we were challenging for Premier League titles and we had this level of manager and we have the money we've got, attracting people like Frankie de Jong would be like shooting fish in a barrel. I look at it a lot, maybe a little differently from certain people. I'm not so narrow-minded as certain. I'm not looking at everything about what we do this season and how important it is. There's a part of me that almost I don't want to be rejected as a fan, but actually, if people start rejecting us, the message that sends is palpable. And we need that message to be sent, because we've started to make some changes at the club, but not enough. But the panic's more sort of like, oh, why can't we get this? And maybe the manager hasn't got the pull. Something to do with Ten Hag. Ten Hag isn't the reason that players are sitting on the fence at the minute, not knowing whether to join us. They're looking at 10 years. And every single player that's joined us, how many were hyped up when they came in? From, I even think about players like Fellaini and Morgan Schneiderlin. When we signed them, lots of fans, lots of big clubs wanted those players. Arsenal fans wanted Fellaini. Arsenal fans wanted Morgan Schneiderlin. Everybody in the Premier League did. We burnt those players at this club for one reason or another. We'll say, nah, they just weren't good enough. Well, like Pogba as well. Like, we brought in Henrik Mkhitaryan. He never fully recovered. Even when he went to Arsenal. It damaged him so much. We just burnt everybody. So if I'm Frankie de Jong's agent, I'm saying to him, listen, you just need to be careful. I know you like Eric. I know your main man Donny's there. I know you'd love to play with Cristiano Ronaldo because you play with Messi as well. You could have both. You could have the set. But be careful because, you know what I mean? Your name could be intertwined into the McFred phrase in 2 years' time. That's what Man United have done. So I'm saying to fans, don't be panicking. Like, use this stuff to put pressure upon your clubs because it's about making our clubs better, not just this summer, but in the medium to long term as well. And that would be my message. If anyone listening, I don't know, but there we go. J-Boy here says, Liverpool fan here. I think Núñez being a different kind of attacker could hopefully lift our versatility up front. Sometimes we clearly run out of ideas. That's a good point by Jay, isn't it? That's a good point.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a good point. You see, Man City are doing something very similar by bringing in Haaland. A lot of people, or not a lot of people, but how does he fit in? How is he going to do this? Blah, 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 blah. It gives them a different look. Defenders have to react differently to Haaland. So if Liverpool, they've for years, those two teams have been doing the false nine type, a bunch of different forwards rotating across the front three. They've been doing that. And I wouldn't say that they've gotten found out, but you have to stay ahead of the curve. You kind of have to figure things out before you get found out. So yeah, I think maybe Liverpool could do something similar with Darwin Núñez. It's just a matter of, will they want to spend that fee? Like, will they want to pay that? I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
I was saying McFong. That's what I was going to call it. Like
McFong's pretty good.
McFong.
McFong. Yeah. Oh yes, no, I get it. That's pretty good. McFong works very, very well. I like McFong. I kind of did like an abbreviation of like McFred still, but it's the Frankie part and the Ed part of the Fred. But I actually like yours, McFong. That works very, very well. Yeah, I mean, that literally could happen to him. That could literally happen to him at Manchester United. So they definitely have to think about it. Yeah. Now, viewers, I wanted to have a little bit of fun as well, because obviously we talk a lot about transfer rumors, transfer stories that are actually circulating. I did one last week where I said Liverpool have to break the bank for Harry Kane. Now, that isn't a real transfer story. It's a fan opinion on what someone should do. Mm-hmm. I have another one this week. Manchester City, and this is connected to a real story, but Manchester City should break the bank this year to sign Bukayo Saka.
Clickbait.
They should. They should break the bank this year, and I'll tell you as to why. I know that there's reports out that Saka's stalling on a new deal. Doesn't really matter. There's 2 years remaining with a year extension. There's 3 years left. There's a considerable amount of time. I think Bukayo Saka is one of the best young players in the world. I think he is super talented, versatile, and he's going to get better and better, especially if Arsenal Football Club buy more experienced players. Nathan here says, why, Terry? I'll tell you as to why. If and when he signs that new deal, which I expect him to, City is still going to want to buy him in 2 years' time. But if he has 4 years remaining on his deal, is on higher salary, and is more proven because he's had 2 more years of performing at the highest level, Saka's going to cost you north of 120 million pounds. Where maybe right now you can pick him up for 30, 40, 50 million pound cheaper as his deal is running down. So this isn't an attack on Arsenal. This isn't an attack on Saka. I think he's going to become one of the very best players in the Premier League and maybe one of the best in Europe in the world as he matures and gets older. Liverpool and City are reportedly looking at him. I think they're insane to let him sign a new deal and spend 2 or 3 more years playing at Liverpool, at Arsenal, because he's just going to cost colossal amounts more. Mo Salah doesn't want to remain. Mo Salah's going to go, not signing a new deal. Riyad Mahrez is past his absolute best of the best and is getting older. Get him in now. Saka now into Liverpool. Saka now into Man City. Superstar. And you could probably get him for 70 or 80 million pounds. In 2 years' time, he's costing you 120, 130, 140, 150. The economical element of the Premier League is going to continue to grow. The fan base will continue to grow. TV money is already going up. Big new American deal coming in soon means the prices of especially homegrown players is going to increase. And a lot of people saying it's not going to happen. You didn't listen to the beginning part of this segment, did you? This is what I'm saying. This
is make-believe, y'all.
No, it's not make-believe. It's football fans having footballing opinions. This is what they need to do. And honestly, clubs are legitimately being stupid in letting teams that have got more power, more potency, more money, and are in a better position now, should be trying to take Saka out of Arsenal now. By the way, Arsenal might even be in a place in 2 years' time, 3 years' time, where they're competing with these teams. And then you definitely ain't getting him out. Do it now or forever hold your peace. That's it. It's one of them ones. It's done. Off the market if you don't get him now for me. That's a compliment, by the way, to Bukayo Saka. So Arsenal fans getting angry.
Yeah, well, those backhanded kind of things. I mean, I saw you one day on Twitter saying, what did you say? And I was like, never going to bring it up. But I think I'm going to bring it up now.
Things did I say? Or was it a
compliment? You were like, something about Gabriel Jesus to Tottenham, which, yeah. And then you were like, oh, would you like it to happen or something? And you were like, yeah, I'd love to see it happen because it would hurt Arsenal fans. And I was like, oh my gosh, how rude.
That's not rude. That's normal rivalry.
That is so rude of you to say something like that. Yeah, it is. Yeah, but fair enough. I feel like I like that Saka, because for a long time, it just felt like people were acting like Saka was like a bum or something. And what I've noticed is when Saka is at Arsenal and it doesn't look like he's going to go anywhere, he's a bum. And then if he's linked to a good club, then everybody's like, oh yeah, he should go. He's so amazing. Or if he's linked to your club, oh my God, he's so amazing. But Saka's one of the best young players in the world. He's excellent. He's just going to get better. But he's going to be playing at Arsenal next season, which is great. And if we were ever to sell him, it needs to be a 3-number digit. Like, it cannot be 70 somethings. So yeah, cool.
Question though, if say City came in now and offered you 110 million and Arteta accepted it, do you think Bukayo Saka delivers at Man City or at Liverpool and keeps them winning titles in Premier Leagues and Champions League? Is he good enough to do that in your opinion?
I think he's a year away, maybe like a year or two away. Like, I think the good thing about Saka being where he is now is that he plays every day. He plays every week. He needs better players around him. But Man City, he would get that, but I'm not sure he starts every single game. So I think that's what benefits him, is that he kind of does everything at Arsenal. He's kind of our guy. But I think Saka can obviously play at that level, but I do think he needs some more time to cook.
I think what you would see if Bukayo Saka went to a Man City now is, yes, he'd still be raw and he'd still have areas to improve on, like Phil Foden. But because he would be surrounded by absolute top quality in every position, and he'd actually have one of the best managers in the world looking after him, he would elevate overnight. You would see he would look like a different player, more time, more space. Just, it would improve him tenfold. Like the pressure wouldn't even be on him. There wouldn't be the same pressure on him to deliver week in, week out. You know, there's like Saka has carried an Arsenal team for a while now, and still getting ridiculed by certain Arsenal fans at the end of the season. You've got Jack Grealish, who didn't have a great season by his standards. Happy as pig in shit. No pressure, because his team are winning. He's at the top, and sometimes players develop more in those environments. But listen, I agree with you. He's going to be at Arsenal next year. I don't believe the rumors today didn't state that anyone was coming in for him. I just read them and thought to myself, if you really want him, you got to get him now. You know, it's what is it?
That would be like ultimate dagger for the Arsenal fans right now, essentially. That's what you're saying.
It would be, but that isn't what I'm talking about. I'm thinking about it from I'm putting a City hat on it. If you're going to get him, you got to get him now. What is it that Beyonce said? If you liked it, then you should have put a ring on it. It's the same concept. If you like Bukayo Saka, you got to put a ring on it now, because in 2 or 3 years' time, he's going to be married, knocked up, kids. You're not going to be interested. You're not going to be able to prize him away. You got to get it done now while they're available. Like, it's one of them ones. I know what I'm talking about. I'm right.
If they want to get, one of the best young English, attackers, they might want to look over at Man United. They have a couple of them over there rotting away. Maybe they want to look at a Rashford or a Sancho or something like that in the meantime. They need someone.
Yeah, I mean, cool. Exactly. Listen, if Man City want to buy one of my players, I'm chuffed. I'm like, that shows they're good, right? I don't have an inferiority complex like you Gooners do. I'm not scared of it. It's a compliment. You want your players.
I'm not scared of it.
Oh yeah, no, you are. I can tell the eyes are wide. Don't leave, Saka. Saka, don't leave.
No, I don't want Saka to leave. Of course, I don't.
I know.
No real fan is going to sit there and be like, yeah, just like so great that all the good teams are looking at our good players.
KJ, go away with this. Give me 90 million for Rashi. Leave. But it's just funny about Man United fans. Like, Man United fan have got these such a split base. Every time that Rashford's linked to a top club in the last couple of years, it's they're making it up. It can't be true, because they all say like no one would buy him, but they really would if he was available on the market. But yeah, listen, I don't want any of my guys to go. Right now, no top team would buy Rashford, in my opinion. I think they're going to want to see him play again. But there we go. Comment here from Oregon Gooner. It says, don't believe any Arsenal gossip until they put the jersey up. We Gooners should know better. Lol. Kimoon. Okay. Thank you for the super chat. I mean, listen, I love the rumors. I love the hustle and bustle of it. I love seeing people get angry. I love seeing people get excited. It's part and parcel of the game. It really, really is. But there we go. Who would be yours? What's the signing you think should happen? So in terms of, if you for a particular club, a player they need, or a player you think should leave a club, or is there a signing where it doesn't need to be one there's an actual link to it, but what type of player or what club should go for what player? So like I've said, I think Liverpool, to be able to win the league next year, they've got to match what City have done with Haaland, and they've got to buy a Harry Kane level striker. Like, what's your thoughts on something like that needs to happen? Are we testing your football knowledge too deep here?
It's not even testing my football knowledge. It's like you made this up out of nowhere, and I don't have time to think. Like
zero. You don't sit there and just think about things. Think about football things. Like I
do, but like
men do weird stuff like this as well. By the way, do you women do this? I know men do this. I want to see your comments in the comment section. Like, I could be walking over a bridge where like cars go underneath, and I often look over and think, I swear I could land on one of them cars if I jumped.
You guys are weird.
Like, I think about a lot of obscure things, and I know a lot of men do it. We've already spoke about De Ligt on the show. You better watch the playback.
Does anybody have any example? Like, you asked the audience or the viewers to have examples. Do they have examples? No?
Yeah, I mean, let's see. Saka should go to Spurs on a free. It will be absolute scenes. Plus, City should go for Gnabry. I think Gnabry is a name that's coming up. What's this here? Salah Niguez has confirmed his departure from Chelsea, as if that weren't going to happen.
I'm so shocked. Serge, like, I think I said this on the show the other day. Like, he's such a good player. Like, I see him either staying at Bayern or going to a club with Champions League. So, that one doesn't really bother me as much. Like, you know what I mean? Because I just don't feel like we could get him right now. Saka's not going to Spurs, so you guys can forget about that. But I guess I would say like Nkunku probably. I'm watching him and I'm thinking like a Premier League move might be what he should do. But I know he was saying that Paris is his home, so I don't know if he's kind of angling for a move to PSG. I would avoid that if I was him. I would avoid going to PSG. You've been there and they sold you. I would apply my trade if I was him in the Premier League. I don't think he would end up like Timo Werner. I think he'd be a good player just like Kai Havertz is. And maybe Chelsea should be looking at Nkunku. I know that they are, but if you're looking for like that signing up top, that's going to be the big one. I think for them, signing Nkunku would be really good. That would be my take.
Yeah. Listen, I think Chelsea need that goal scorer. So I think Chelsea finding someone that is going to score them goals is going to be so key for them. There's no doubt. I would reverse time and sign Tchouameni. Yeah, listen, you should have got him last year for 45 mil. What a signing that would have been. Someone here says Arsenal are confident Saka will sign a new deal amid transfer interest from Liverpool and City. Exactly why those clubs should strike now. Saka for 120 million would be good business. For 120 million, we can get 3 proven internationals. City in their prime. Sterling, Zinchenko. So right now, would you do that deal? Right now, Saka out, and in return, you get Sterling, Zinchenko, Gabriel Jesus. Is Arsenal bet? That's a great look at that. See, some of these people can freestyle, proper football knowledge.
Okay, well, what I'll say is that what you're basically saying is really? We could get Zinchenko and Jesus without having to sell Bukayo Saka. So essentially what you're saying, are you willing to bring in Sterling for Saka? And my answer is no, because Saka is going to be the new Sterling. Like, he's going to take over. Like, that's going to be his thing. So absolutely not. And like, I think it's a matter of also what it says. Saka's our franchise player. Like, you can't sell him now.
Poster boy.
You don't know what a franchise player is because you don't watch basketball.
We don't do franchise here.
It doesn't matter.
I know what it means. Poster boy, yes.
But yeah, like he just is. And like right now, like I don't think that'd be a good idea. But yeah. Arsenal fans are willing to get rid of anybody, like for anything. You could get Zinchenko and Jesus without having to sell your franchise player. What does that mean?
Yeah, well, it isn't 120 million plus those players. It's like those players in. So Gabriel Jesus is 42. Zinchenko is going to be around 30. Yeah, so in around that amount. Look, I understand selling, would make your team better. How old is Sterling now? 27, 28? How old is Sterling? I'm going to say
27, I think.
27, maybe a bit older than that. He's 27, going to be 28 this year. I actually think Saka's. I think Saka's a better footballer than Raheem Sterling.
There's just no reason to do it if in a couple of years you could still sell him, or he can become just as good as Sterling. So, like, no.
I'll change it up for you. Sterling, no. So, Zinchenko, Gabriel Jesus, and Grealish for Saka. Would you do that?
No.
You wouldn't do it?
Hell no.
You wouldn't do it?
No.
Oh.
No. Absolutely not.
No, you wouldn't do it. What? Okay, no Grealish. Zinchenko, Jesus, and Foden for Saka.
It's still a no.
Wow! She's backing Saka here. I like that.
Of course I'm backing Saka. I think he's going to be amazing. There's no reason to do that for me. We could start talking if they're willing to part with Haaland. Then we can start a conversation. But other than that, I'm looking at those players that you're offering me, and I'm like, Saka could be that in a couple of years.
Would you give Martinelli and Saka up right now for Haaland?
No.
No, you wouldn't do it.
Not both of them.
Not both of them. Okay, make it
because I don't see anybody in the horizon that's like them. So that we could get at the moment. And you still need those players if you have Haaland. Who are we gonna have?
Knowledge. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Just playing devil's advocate. KJ wouldn't want him in case some young striker at Man United's development would be hindered. KJ and his bang average knowledge. Do you know what I mean? That's why.
Yeah, he's still talking about Laird.
Ethan Laird. You got Nelson and Pepe. They can do a job. There we go.
Oh my God.
Julian here says, you're deluded. He says you're deluded.
Oh, okay. Well, fair enough.
Nah, listen. Terry's hype jog worked massive. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. Why are you such a Saka simp? I don't think Jay's been a Saka simp.
The funny thing about this is that you're a Saka simp, or you're overrating Saka until he's linked with your club, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, he's great, he's wonderful, he's this and that. Saka is a good player. Like, there's no reason to get rid of him now, just for any other player, when he could become that in a couple years. Like, I just don't get it.
There's 10 better young wingers than Saka. City talks. Who, my friend? Who? Like,
if they're here's the other thing, is that because I rate Saka very highly and I wouldn't just give him up for anybody, all of a sudden I'm saying he's better than everybody else. There may be better wingers out there, but if we got rid of Saka in Europa League where we are right now, could we replace him? Could we get one of those better wingers? Probably not.
Well,
so
in our little game that we're playing, yes, because anyone's going to go to anybody. But yeah, I mean, who's better? I mean, Kulusevski, that's a good shout.
Vinicius, Vinny Jr.
Vinny Jr.
Sure.
Yeah.
He's better than him right now. Are we talking about young?
Yeah, Sancho.
Who?
Jadon Sancho is better than Saka.
He can't even get into the England team over Saka.
Form is under a year under Ten Hag, he's back.
Oh my gosh. No.
Sancho's got a higher ceiling than Saka.
Hell no, he doesn't.
A better career so far than Saka.
100%.
Sancho.
Does he have this work ethic or no?
We'll see. I'm just overall so far though, Sancho's better.
Because we all know, because you've said it before, if you don't have the work ethic, it doesn't matter. And I'm looking at Sancho sometimes, like, I don't think you have it.
It's very hard with everything that was going on last year. I need to see him a year under Ten Hag to really make my mind up.
Sure.
Judd Bowen, better, definitely. He's about 42. He's actually quite old.
First of all, he's 25. And it was funny because West Ham fans were like, he's starting over Saka. He's going to make his name for the England team today. This is it. And
brilliant.
He crapped the bed.
I'm not going to lie. I haven't seen enough, but I think Saka's... Do you think Saka's better than Fati? Because if I was
Ansu Fati might be generational, you know. Like, I would be very careful about that one. He may be generational.
I don't watch enough of him, but if based on not watching enough, if someone said you can have Fati or Saka right now, I think I'd pick Saka. But that's based on
because we're talking about like what we may think about Fati. So I would not switch Saka for Ansu Fati, but equally he's been injured so much that you don't really know yet.
But Fati's also hard for the same reasons I just mentioned with Sancho. He's coming through this Barca when they're going through turmoil. I need to see him at Barca where things are good. Does that make sense?
It didn't hurt Pedri or Gavi. They rose.
No, it didn't. But then everybody's different, aren't they?
It's been more about him being injured.
Yeah,
than anything.
I get that.
Yeah.
Now we know that Mbappe, of course, we're not going to mention Mbappe's name. Pulisic. Listen, that yank bum. He's got to go. He's got to get out of here. He's a franchise player. For you, man. Callum Hudson-Odoi is not better than Saka. He's got better skill.
He had to change his. He has to go to Ghana to make the national team. Like, you know,
I don't speak on those matters. I'm not permitted. But what I would say is this: he looks better than Saka in terms of the skills, the tricks, the flicks, the silks. Sure. But he is not a better football player.
But see, that's why I don't think people actually. I think that's a big reason why people don't rate Saka is because he's not flashy, but he's really effective. So it's like one of those, you know what I mean? But at the same time, like, I know that there's players that are better than Bukayo Saka, but that doesn't mean that like we should just give him away to anybody.
No.
like just because there's somebody better that you can have. So
Pedro Neto, no, not Pedro Neto is not better than Saka.
he's another one playing at like a lower level team that looks really good, but he's not more effective than Bukayo Saka. Like, yeah, but it's cool. Like, I love this because then when other teams, when you're linked with Saka, then all of a sudden he's the best thing ever. This is how it goes.
No, I get that. I get that. Fabio Carvalho again. Let's wait to see him in the Prem before we start saying that he's better than Bukayo Saka. I think that's a fair thing to say. Saka is a very good player. He's defo up there. Arsenal fans are right to love him the way they do. That's from KJ, not me. I didn't type that. But I like. Listen, I put him on my board.
We have good players that come out of your academy. Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, you do love them differently, and like, so maybe you can't see it objectively, you know. But I still think Saka is one of the best young players in the world. You know, I stand by that. Not the best, one of. Elise is very good, but he's definitely not clear. He's playing for a team that's mid-table that doesn't have to deal with. He doesn't get double and triple and quadruple team like Bukayo Saka.
A lot of people bigging up Vinny Jr. Listen, what's Vinny Jr. even done?
I mean, he scored the winner in the Champions League.
Sarcasm. There is sarcasm right there.
Well, I know you don't rate anybody outside of the Premier League. So
that's not true. That's not true.
He doesn't play in the Prem in the best league, so you never know. You can't really compare him.
Ever said that.
All right.
Never said cool. That. Who do I think is one of the best midfielders in the world? Marco Verratti. He ain't played in the Prem. I've never mentioned that before.
So what?
So what?
Terry hates skills. Yeah.
Well, that's not true, though, is it? I love Lionel Messi. He's got skills, hasn't he? This is
you like passion merchants and stuff like that, I think.
No, I like what you just said. I would take a Bukayo Saka delivering over a Hudson-Odoi looking better but not delivering. If you can have looking amazing and delivering collectively as one, like a Ronaldinho, that's perfection. But I get annoyed at people that buzz over the flashy players who don't score or create enough. Doesn't make sense to me. That's not like in skill. That's like, I'll take you an example. It's the Maximin. Looks great, doesn't do anything. Very rarely. That's not hating skill. That's me not loving off an average football player who's got great. He's basically the cross between a freestyler and a footballer. Do you know what I mean? The better freestyler than he is footballer. So there we go. But you all know I'm right. You just people that don't like it. It's not my fault. Not my fault. Terry is a mentality merchant and a fish and chip merchant. Maybe that's why I've been successful in life, bruv. I don't know. I'm only joking, Blake. I'm only joking. I like fish and chip merchant. I do like it. I'm partial to a fish and chips. I do. But I like a lot of foods. I tried a different type of fish recently, deep fried. Catfish.
A fry up.
Oh. You ever tried deep fried catfish?
Yeah.
It's good. It's very good. I'm just saying.
You ain't got to tell me it's good. I know.
You didn't say that then. No, that's weird. Freaking out there. I don't know who that person is. Jess looks like Sky Jackson. Who's that?
I've heard that before. Technically, she looks like me because she's 18. So, yeah, but I've heard that before.
I'm going to Google that now. I don't know who that is. Let me see who she looks. Okay. Yeah, actually, no. Yeah, a little bit, actually. Now that I looked at this picture. Yeah, I get that. I don't know who she is or what she does, but yeah.
She's a little like an actress.
I want fish and chips now. Yes, go on, Omar.
I actually want some too. Yeah, we have them out here.
Terry exposed.
Yes.
Exposed for what?
It's exposed.
Exposed
as a fish and chip merchant. That's what it is.
Even as a Spurs fan, I must admit that Saka is one of the top 5 right wingers in the world. It's a big statement there by Phil. Listen, I think he's sensational. And listen, I'm only playing with things that I've said.
I think he's going to go up a level this season with better players around him. You know, I really do. But then that's going to expose it further.
Haaland, Alvarez, Mahrez, and Foden for Saka. Would you do the swap deal?
I'm still even like,
No, just stop. Just stop.
no, I would do it for that, but that's like, I mean, that's a crazy offer. By the way, I would have done it for Holland and like one other player.
Oh, without doubt, you got to. Terry, top 3 seasonings, go. Salt, pepper, vinegar.
I almost said something so bad, but I kept it in. I'm glad I kept it in. I don't want people to think I'm like bullying you.
You can't really bully me. I don't know how that's even plausible. Well, what were you gonna? You got to say it now. You said it. You got to get it out.
Like, doesn't can't possibly know anything about seasonings.
Why? What would be the reason that I don't know about seasoning, Jessica?
Oh God, I'll never say it. I'll never say it.
What is it? Because of what?
Okay, so Terry has a video on his TikTok. It's still there. It's still there. I want you guys to go follow Terry on TikTok. But he has a video of him making potatoes, like, right? And he's going step by step, and you can tell like thinks he's Gordon Ramsay, like in his head, like the way he's explaining it and all this kind of stuff. He puts like no seasoning on these potatoes. I'm waiting on the seasoning to come. I'm like, is he gonna season them? Is he gonna pull out some salt, pepper, like something? Nothing. They had no seasoning on them at all. And I was like, wow.
Do you know what? There's 2 things.
Wow.
There's 2 things to this. Firstly, I was.
Don't blame it on making it for your children. Do not blame it on that.
Partly that, because I want to make scrambled egg. Like, you're meant to put the seasoning in near the end of it being ready, but obviously I can't put salt into it when I'm making it for the kids as well. I've got to put it after. But I was doing something new. But yeah, I did forget. But I seasoned it.
The funny part about it was like you thought you were chefing, like you really did.
By the way, we know what you're actually implying. You are suggesting, aren't you, that because I have white skin, that therefore I don't season. Is that what it is you're saying?
Well, what are your 3 favorite seasonings then?
I like allspice, salt, and paprika.
He doesn't even have those in his cabinet, most likely. So there you go. Moving on.
You know, in England, it's funny with spices as well, because people say things like I love spice, because you buy spice, it just says steak seasoning. I don't know what's in it. You just use it on steak, but no. Bland. Yes, that's me, my friend. I'm a bland human being. There's nothing good about my personality in me at all. I'm just bland. Basically, I'm a white boiled potato is what I am. That is it. Terry listed what's his takeaway. My favorite takeaway, maybe you mean. Oh, it depends. It's a toss up between Turkish and Chinese food, I'd say. Toss up between the 2. I like a bit of Mexican, but where I live, there's no Mexican takeaway near here.
There is no way you guys have any sort of Mexican food that makes sense out there. There's just, sorry.
We have great food here. We have food here.
But you don't have, I know for a fact, I don't even have to try it. The Mexican food is probably horrible.
No, depends on what restaurant you go to. But yeah, if you go to a Taco Bell, then yes, Taco Bell's horrible in America.
You guys even have avocado there?
What the pears? Do we have avocado?
You guys agree with me that the Mexican food can't possibly be good there?
Why?
Because
we don't have because we don't have a lot of You do realize, like, you don't need to be Mexican to cook Mexican food good if you're a trained chef. You know, that's not how it works.
Yeah, but you don't like.
No, you understand that's not how it works. Like, your passport.
I've never had Mexican food from somebody that was not of Latin descent. Like, you know what I mean?
Wait till you come to England. Wait, I'm going to take you to a few nice Caribbean restaurants, because you definitely had no good Caribbean food in LA. I'm telling you that now. And take you to East London.
I think we're on a slippery slope. I think we need to pare it back.
No, we're not. Anyone who's offended.
I don't want people in my DMs being like, "What do you mean?" Like,
yeah, I mean, Jess is.
See, yeah, like I'm like, oh.
and again, attacking my skin color. Do you know what I mean? Saying I got no seasoning, no flavoring. I'm bland.
Well, you showed you had no seasoning. Like, you didn't put them on your potatoes, so I didn't just make that up.
I think it's a very, very reprehensible and diminishing sort of stereotype.
You can't even say it. You can't even say it.
It's very, very demeaning and horrible to place that.
Okay.
That stereotype. Hang on a minute. Hang on. Let me get this out, because that stereotype has been hurting my people for a long time. We don't know how to cook.
Fake tears. Fake tears.
There we go. Listen, my people. I thought Jess was mixed raced. No, Jess isn't mixed raced. But anyway, another conversation for another day. It's the lighting, maybe. I don't know.
Not a conversation for another day. We don't need to talk about what my ethnicity is.
We've done now. It's not a conversation. It's I don't know. It's someone actually did call you out on that a little while. I don't remember who it was on socials saying that about you. And I'm like, no, it's not. But anyway, it's another conversation for another day.
I'm black.
KJ's had that as well, actually. I've seen people go, oh, I thought KJ was light skinned. I'm like, I'm not getting involved, but no, he's not. As far as I'm aware, I think
we are on a slippery slope.
No, we're not. This is not a bad. This is not a conversation.
I don't want to get cancelled. Like, I really don't.
You can't be cancelled for someone leaving a comment saying, "I think you were mixed race." I don't get it. Terry Ramsey. There we go. I don't know, Terry. Have you had buffalo chicken? I don't know.
Do you guys have buffalo wings?
Yes, we have food here. We have food. We have good food. It's not traditional.
All I ever see that's posted from you guys is the fry up, and that does not look good to me.
See, again, if you're ever here, all right, you're going to come out with a terrace, and we're going to have to show you where the good food's at, because there's some amazing places in London to eat. 110%. Listen, though, my people, thank you all for tuning in. Great show as ever, Jess. Always a pleasure to share the screen with you. Viewers, please smash the like and the share button before you leave. I'm off to go and season something. Until next time, take care. Goodbye.